Welcome to Word Up Rock and Roll Stories with Myke. In-depth conversations with the world's best singers and musicians. Sponsored by the Waterloo Music Bar, Blackpool. Small venue, massive attitude.
Hi and welcome to episode 1 of Word Up Rock and Roll Stories. I'm Myke and I aim to bring you in-depth interviews of the world's best singers and musicians. Word Up is sponsored by the Waterloo Music Bar, Blackpool, the place to see the best live bands from the UK and all over the globe. Check them out on Facebook and at waterloomusicbar.com. Episode 1 of the podcast features guitarist Myke Gray. Myke first appeared on stage at the world-famous Marquee Club at the age of 12 and then went on to form and be the main songwriter in the bands Jagged Edge, Skin and Red, White and Blues. He was managed for many years by Rod Smallwood, Iron Maiden's manager, and has worked with some of rock music's best-known singers from Courtney Love to Bruce Dickinson. Myke's comeback album Shades of Grey was released last year and he's currently writing and producing an album for one of the best young singers around, Kim Jennett. Let's get on with it. First of all, thank you very much for being the subject of episode 1 of my new
pleasure.
podcast.
My honour.
And getting it off the ground. Hopefully we don't know where it's going to go, but you're the
hard to
first
believe that
subject.
anyone wants to talk to me about anything.
Well, you're an interesting
I'm happy
person.
to do so.
First of all, before we start, I want to read something that you put on Facebook earlier on that I found very, very interesting. I'll just read it out. Over the years, my relationship with playing concerts has changed. At the beginning, it was all adrenaline and excitement. Now they are a symbol of perseverance and sacrifice. Is it indicative of your age now?
I mean, there's a massive journey with any musician, not just me. I mean, generally what starts, it becomes something that you hear other bands. For me it was Eddie Van Halen and bands from that era, that all of a sudden music comes into your life and you sort of go, this is wonderful, where would we be without music? And then you decide to learn to play an instrument, which even if you practice for 50 years, you're still a beginner. You don't know this at the beginning. You think, I just want to play like Van Halen, or I just want to play like George Lynch or whoever. But then you realize, my God, it just takes over your entire world. You wake up in the morning. That's what it was like for me, literally 24/7. All I thought about was playing music. I never went to...
From what age?
I mean, when I heard the Sex Pistols, Pretty Vacant, that was very much the start, just hearing that guitar riff.
Yeah.
Something happened inside me where I just went, I need to know what that is. And then very quickly discovered all the bands like The Clash and the Buzzcocks and all those sort of punk bands.
So you would have been around 9 at the time?
Yeah,
'cause you were around the same age as me, and that came out in 76.
Yeah,
so
9, 10.
About 9, yeah.
So it was very, very, very early in my life that triggered within me. And then, of course, once you let music into your life, you're constantly trying to seek new sources. And then I found Van Halen 1 and the first Montrose album.
Yeah.
These were the two big catalysts for me going, well, I know what I want to do, but now it's this style of music. So then I started to just consume all guitar players, everything. It was all guitar related. And then you dedicate your life to playing. Then you form your first bands, and of course you've got no family, you don't have a job or anything like that, so you can divert all of your time and attention. But as years go on, and then you get into the music business, and you suddenly realize how hard it is, not only to form a successful band, to write successful songs, then record them in a way that would be commercially acceptable to the world. Then the pressures of going on tour, then the pressures of keeping those bandmates together, then the reality that there's very little money in music, and then you have wives and children, and then you've got to support them, but still keep your passion going because it's been inside you since the age of 10, and you still wake up in the morning thinking, if only I could write a riff like this, but you've still got all this other life going on. And year after year after year, it's very hard to maintain that level of intensity.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like like a Premiership footballer. You wouldn't, if you play for Manchester United or Real Madrid or Barcelona, you don't think, well, as long as I'm playing in the park somewhere, that's all that matters, because you always remember what it was like to go out on stage at Wembley, or what it was like to go out at Download, or what it was like to hear a certain singer sing in a certain way. It's like that very high levels of performance that are required to be good, to not just be making up the numbers, that you go out there and you deliver with the same passion that your heroes had when you were a kid. So for me, that's what I mean about the perseverance. It's like I wake up this morning, first thing I do is go downstairs and practice the set. I play the set that we're going to play tonight. Okay. It takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours, but I do that before breakfast. And I do that every single morning before anything happens. And it's those levels of, that's what I mean by perseverance. It's like, it would be easy to go, so I did it yesterday. But Ronaldo wouldn't think like that, or Usain Bolt wouldn't think like that. It's kind of like, if you want to stay up there, so that's what I mean by perseverance. And the sacrifice is that, like tonight, all the guys here, they have family, they have jobs. Yeah. No one's making any money to do this. So they're being away from the people they love. They're not making money doing it, but because of their burning desire to still play music at a high level, that is what it becomes about, because it's so easy not to do it. This is tough. It's a tough industry to survive in.
It is. I mean, I don't want to go down the road of, because you've been in the industry a long, long time now, I don't want to go down the road of how is it different to the old days. Mm-hmm. But it is. It's completely different now, isn't it?
It's a completely different world.
There's no advances from record companies any longer.
No.
The project that we're going to come on to in a minute, it's all self-funded.
Yeah, the absolute reality is, when the digital age came, the industry, the music industry, had to adapt, and they didn't. And now, whereas record companies, if you've ever seen a record deal, you'll see that it's incredibly one-sided.
Oh, yeah.
And it was never a particularly good deal for the bands anyway, and you were never going to recoup. So it's always been tough. Like, even when we were in Skin, so we were signed to Parlophone Records, massive record label, one of the biggest there was. We received, I think, £100,000, which sounds like a lot of money.
Is that for the first album?
Yeah, but that was our first advance. So £100,000, manager instantly takes 20,000 off it, bang. You've got 4 members in the band. That's meant to last you a year. 20 grand.
And make an album.
Yeah. Well, the album costs go on top, but 20 grand a year to live isn't very much. We were literally living on £100 a week for the entire duration of Skin, when we had a top 10 album, top 20 singles. Mm. That's what we were living on. At one point it went up to 150, but not for long. And so it was always challenging, but you were out on tour. You were doing the things that you loved. The record company would pay for the tour support. Record company would pay for the making of the album. So you flew to Los Angeles, and you were living the dream. Mm. It was just living the dream, but you were going into debt day by day by day, and there was never any chance of you recouping the debt.
Did you care at the time, though?
No, of course not. You're in Los Angeles and you're hanging out with strippers and you're having the time of your life, and why would you want to change this? Yeah. I grew up on a council estate, with heroin addicts sleeping on the floor and the risk of being mugged at any particular time. And now I was driving a sports car in Los Angeles, deciding which strip bar I was going to go to. Why would I want to stop this? But everything runs its cycle, and the industry changed. Then we went to an independent label, and then you realize the massive difference between the two. All of a sudden there's no videos. All of a sudden there's no adverts in magazines because they can't afford it. And so you had to change. And on top of that, you're giving away your art. You're giving away your work. It's not easy to write songs. It's not easy to record them. And you're handing them over for peanuts, and you've handed them over forever. Yeah. So I just made a very conscious decision. When Skin reformed in 2009 to play Download, I approached our old record label, to see if they would re-release the Skin albums, and they said no. And I was like, but we're playing Download to like 75,000 people. Can I at least buy them from you? Nope. they just flatly refused. And then it dawned on me, it's like, I don't own these. These are nothing to do with me now.
Was it at that point you decided that you were going to go on your own for the rest of your releases?
Yeah. At this moment in time, unless someone makes an offer, where it's justified that you're going to hand over your art for the rest of your life. And from then I've had control over it. It's tough, don't get me wrong, but I'd rather have control over something, than just give it away for nothing. Yeah.
And going on to your current project, which is very exciting, because I'll go back personally. In November, I was down to interview at Hard Rock Hell Festival, and I always do my research, so I listened to your latest album, which was mostly instrumental, Shades of Grey, but there was one song on there that has vocals on, and as soon as I heard Take Me Home, I thought, who is that singer? She is awesome. I have to find out who this singer is. So I had a look on YouTube, and then I saw her doing a version, I think it was with just an acoustic version of you and Kim doing Counts for Nothing, which is an old Red, White and Blues song.
Yeah.
And I was absolutely blown away.
Well, when we recorded the album, the actual album version is sung by Lorraine Crosby, who sings on the Meatloaf song, I Would Do Anything for Love. So she sang on the album version. And then similar to you, I saw a clip on Facebook of Kim Jennett singing to an acoustic song, and I did the same thing. I've got to find out who this girl is because she's devastating. And as soon as I met Kim, I then realised I would like her to sing Take Me Home. So we went into a recording studio and did a new vocal take. And the vocal on the video is Kim, but the version on the album is Lorraine. Both of them phenomenal singers.
Absolutely.
But Kim just took it to another level. Devastating vocalist. And power of Facebook.
And let's say when I saw her version of Counts for Nothing, it was totally blew me away. Well, it's a fantastic song.
The thing is, when I first saw Kim, I made contact with her and I said, would you like to meet up in a rehearsal studio, which she agreed to do. And so I sent her Counts for Nothing. And I said, try singing, have a go at this, and we'll do Take Me Home. And she walked into the rehearsal room and she just nailed Take Me Home. And then I said, well, did you learn the other one? She went, yeah, I'll have a go at that too. And so what you're seeing, that's her singing, I think maybe 2 days after she learnt the song.
Wow.
And we were in the rehearsal room, and Rich, who's playing with me tonight, he was in the room, and Adam was in the... And we were all very experienced musicians, and we were just like, oh my God, we're just watching a world-class vocalist, which she is, Yeah.
Well, as I said, I was doing lots of interviews at Hard Rock Hell, but I particularly wanted to see you guys play live. And I've never seen a performance go down as well. It wasn't just me that was stood there in awe. The whole 3,000 people in that hall were stood in awe of you and Kim.
Yeah, but I was stood in awe watching her, because the way that it came about, the need for us to find a singer for Hard Rock Hell was very short notice. We had very little time to find someone who could come in. I mean, first of all, the Skin songs are not easy to sing because they were written for one of the best singers in the world. To sing songs like Tower of Strength, you have to be pretty good.
As good as Never McDonald.
Yeah, I mean, when you're lucky enough to be able to write songs for singers of that caliber, you write melodies knowing that they can do them, but not many people can do them. But of course they went on to be quite well-known songs, and so you then have to find people that can sing them and are willing to sing them. It's a very short list. So Kim literally had 4 hours of rehearsal the 1 or 2 days beforehand. And then we were like, don't know how this is going to go, And the way that we start the set, we start instrumentally, so we're all on stage. And then all of us, we just heard this voice, and on she came. And for the first couple of songs, I'm just watching in disbelief. as she just devoured not only the songs but the crowd as well.
An amazing singer, an amazing front woman as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's very seldom you get both things together. And the whole band, we were just watching her really, because we were just like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, just amazing. So, that was a very memorable moment in our lives, for sure.
From there, you've done a tour with Black Star Riders, you've done a couple of dates of your own. Now you are, how far off finishing the album are you now? Because you've made an album for Kim, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's an ongoing process. Recording albums is hard, and time restraints, and Kim lives in different parts, so it's a gradual basis. I would say we're about halfway through. But I'm not someone who's very fast in the studio. I'm more of a very meticulous. We need to re-sing, we need to rewrite, do this. So there's a lot of, that's how I work. So we're hoping to have it completely done and dusted by download. That's our,
which is June.
That's our goal. But it will take a lot of commitment, which
so what I mean, you live in London, Kim lives near Manchester, your rehearsal studio's in Manchester. Are you recording it there as well?
No, I have a studio in London.
So Kim comes down to London.
Yeah, Kim comes down. I do all the bits and pieces that need to be done, like recording the drums and all the backing tracks and all that. That's my responsibility. And then Kim comes down and she does her vocals, and then I do all the production afterwards.
Yeah,
it's a big job, production.
Excellent. And you're playing live tonight. We're in Blackpool, by the way, Blackpool Waterloo Bar. Are we going to hear many songs from the Kim's album tonight?
Well, I mean, this show was, because we're playing Winter's End in a couple of days. When this show was originally, we were honoured to be asked to do it. So it was like, initially it was under my name. And the concept behind Myke Gray playing live shows is just kind of songs from my career.
Yeah.
Hopefully people will enjoy hearing them played. In that time frame, me and Kim and I have been working together, so our relationship has kind of strengthened, and I've written songs for her. So we're now starting to incorporate them into the set. So tonight will be a couple of songs from my solo album, a lot of Skin songs, some songs from Red, White and Blues, and then at the end we're doing 4 songs from Kim's album, and then we'll finish with Take Me Home, which is the song that we spoke about earlier.
Excellent.
Where so it kind of encompasses it all.
Yeah, the whole Myke Gray career, including things that we haven't even heard yet.
Yeah. I mean, there's there's nothing from Jagged Edge in there on these shows, but there's maybe in the future.
Yeah, the first single that you recorded, that you released with Kim, was Love Like Suicide, which is an old Skin tune that was on Experience Electric.
It was. Lots of people say they're Skin songs, but they're actually my songs.
You recorded them with Skin.
Yeah, exactly.
Neville sang on it, you wrote the song.
This is something that sort of occurs a lot. It's like, I don't like it when such and such is doing it. It's kind of like, I wrote them. They're my songs. I'm allowed to play them with other people. I was always the writer in the bands that I was in, but I fully accept that it's the singers that make a band famous. But the reality is, like, you
see, I don't follow that perception.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't follow it, because to me, you are Skin. Neville sang in Skin, but you were Skin. Yeah,
I mean, it's a tough one, and I fully understand. There's always conflict between band members. I could go through a whole list of bands,
sure,
and
you could.
There's whether it, historically we all know who they are, and there's always a lot of tension between the writer and the performer. You know, it's like chicken and egg. You know, the performer, the lead singers in generally, they're very different breed to everyone else, and that's kind of what makes them a singer.
Yeah.
You know, if they didn't have that kind of self-absorbed, I'm the center of the universe, driven by insecurity and fear, they're very unlikely to stand out in front of 10,000 people seeking love and adoration. It's actually that flaw within their personality that puts them out there, desperate for that love and approval.
Yeah.
You know, and they're all like it. The writers tend to be driven by something very different, which is a desire to create something that lasts forever. And this conflict sort of goes on within all bands. And I'm yet to see that not happen within a band that I've sort of been in. You know, that always seems to be the tension within it, which is a good thing, and ultimately the thing that normally breaks it up.
Absolutely.
You know, because the writer will go, well, I'm not writing you any more songs then. You know, if you're gonna behave like that, get yourself another writer. And then you've got without me you're nothing mentality that comes from the singer. I could tell you 20 stories of how this pattern is existed from the beginning of time, you know, within music. So that's something you have to deal with. But in terms of the songs, they were my songs, so I just kind of think I can play them when I want. Anyone who wants to sing them is able to do them, but for me the songs are everything, you know.
From your huge canon of music then, why did you choose Love Like Suicide for Kim's first single?
When we first got... When you're writing for a singer, this is a big discussion. When you're writing for a singer, singers are like actors. You know, it's like there's certain actors that you would believe in a role, and there's certain actors that you wouldn't. You know, if you had Billy, what's his name? I don't know. If you had Rowan Atkinson in The Expendables, you wouldn't believe it. Yeah. If you had Arnold Schwarzenegger in When Harry Met Sally, you wouldn't believe it. So whenever I meet a singer or work with a singer, I have to believe in them and sort of go like, what is it that I can write for you? What is it you would be able to deliver? And in the later stages of Skin, because we started out as like very much a classic rock band, and then I was starting to be influenced by other music, and I just wrote them. And I wouldn't say that all of those songs suited the singer of Skin optimally, you know. And Love Like Suicide was one of those songs. It was like, I knew it was a good song, and I knew that the singer of Skin did a fantastic job on it, but I always knew that could be better. There was a way of making that better than it actually was. And that sort of stuck in my brain for many, many years. I could name you 10 other songs like that as well. And then as soon as I heard Kim, it was like, that's the song for her. Yeah. And she walked in, I played it to her. She goes, oh, I really like this. This is great. And she sang it. And then when I heard her sing the original Middle Eight, I thought, no, she needs something much more special to show off her voice, because she'd taken the song to a much more fragile element, which she's capable of, and then she has this huge power element, and I needed the song to go to a much bigger extreme, which is why I put that new Middle Eight in there. And she hits a note that very few singers on this planet would be able to hear, and it was because I knew that she would be able to do that line. It's like a Christopher Walken moment. I always relate music to with movies. You know, there's certain actors who are capable of delivering a line which no one else would. You know, like Russell Crowe in Gladiator, are you not entertained? You know, there's very few people that would do it like that, and singers are the same for me. When I heard Sim King, it was like, she needs a line like that, so you write a line for like that. You know, when I was writing for Neville, you know, I saw, you can do this and you can do that, and so you write a Look But Don't Touch, or you write a Tower of Strength. You know, if I was working with another singer, those songs wouldn't materialize, because I'm feeding off the character within the singer to create something for them.
I can feel it.
Was it the same with Matty? Did you write specifically for his voice?
No, I mean, when Jagged Edge first formed, we were actually put together by a record label and a management company. So we were two individuals who'd never met each other, and we were thrown into a room, and it was like, so now write. Two very forceful characters, both unbelievably stubborn, both think that they're right most of the time, so that was generally going to always foul. But within that time frame, we did write we wrote You Don't Love Me, and we wrote Trouble and Out in the Cold, songs that have tested the test of time.
Absolutely.
But we didn't get on as people, mainly because back then Matty would only generally sing things that he'd written,
right,
and which was going to clash with me, because I was going, well, I think you should be singing this as well. So that was doomed from the beginning in that particular time in our lives. And then when we got back together in Red, White and Blues, I'd obviously written a lot of songs in that time which were more successful than his particular songs, and so I had some weight behind my argument of like, we should be singing this, we should be singing that.
I must admit that Shine, the Red, White and Blues album, is probably my favourite album of yours.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to kind of agree with you in terms of, as a complete thing, I think so too. I do think the first Skin album has got some songs that have tested the time very well.
Denying that they're
amazing
albums.
As a cohesive record, I have to agree with you. And on that record, I was writing songs. Most of those songs are mine. And what actually happened was Matty produced the album, I wrote the album, but we kind of split it. And he will be the first person to tell you that.
Yeah, cool.
You know, so as it says, all lyrics by Myke Gray, and you just know from the writing who's wrote it. But he's cool with it, and he understands it. But he produced it. So that's what happened. And writing for Matty is actually very, very simple. Simple is the wrong word. Pleasurable and enjoyable experience, because I know his voice really well, and the kind of songs I write suit him very well. But when we write together, there's a little bit more conflict within there. But I agree with you.
Going back to the start of your career, again, I saw something on Facebook that you put on earlier on that I'd never seen before, that your first live performance was with Bernie Torme when you were 12 years old.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, can you just elaborate on that for us?
Yeah, it was a life-changing thing for me. My sister, she ran a club in North London called the Zigzag Club.
All right.
And so every day there would be bands playing, and I used to sort of hang around every day. And Bernie Torme's tour manager became friends with my sister, and then one day, because I lived on a council estate, Tower Block Council Estate, my sister said, "Oh, Bernie Torme is going to come round to see you." I was like, "No, he really is."
At the time, was he in Gillen at the time?
He'd left Gillen. He'd just done the Ozzy Osbourne
yeah.
thing, and he was just about to start his own solo career. And lo and behold, he turned up to my little house, and he was dressed in red and black striped pants. He had these big boots on. He's a tall guy, matty blonde hair, and I had in my little bedroom just like a 5-watt practice amp, and I had a little Shaftesbury Les Paul copy. That was it. And I just used to sit playing guitar, and then he sort of came in, and and I was small. I mean, I'm not exactly massive now, but I was small then. And he comes into my bedroom, and he goes, "Oh, I hear you want to be a guitar player." And I was like, yeah, I do. And so he goes, "Oh, let me show you some things." And so he showed me the riff to Crazy Train, and then he showed me how to hammer on, and he showed me how to do harmonics and things like that. And then he said, "Would you like to get up and play with me at the Marquee Club?" At this point, I'd never played in front of anyone.
Wow.
Anyone
12 years old.
at all. And I sort of went, I goes, "What do you want me to play?" He goes, "Let me teach you a song by Alice Cooper called Under My Wheels."
Yeah.
And he taught me how to play this song, and then he invited me down to rehearsals, which was someplace in Fulham. I did like 2 days rehearsal where I just sort of sit there on the couch watching them play, and then he'd say, "Get up, let's play the song." And then he goes, "Well, come and get up with me at the Marquee Club." And that was on when it was in Wardour Street, and it was packed. I mean, it was about 800 people rammed into something like downstairs. Yeah. And then I went out and I played this song, and as soon as I came off, it was like, this is it. This is all I want to do.
It's unbelievable.
I've
never heard anything like that before.
Yeah, I know. It was
12 years old, getting up at the Marquee Club, playing an Alice Cooper classic.
Yeah, and it changed my life. You know, like I said earlier about all of a sudden your goal becomes, and that is it. I had no interest in anything else other than I have to learn everything about guitars. I have to be, you know, this is it. This is what I want to do. And
so schooling just went out of the window then?
I mean, I literally stopped going to school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it reached the end of the third year. You know, like, I can't remember if you remember back then, at the end of the third year, you'd pick your options. Yeah. And so I just decided, well, I know what I want to do, so I don't need to go to school. I've got no interest in any of these subjects, and I've got no interest in talking to kids all day. All I want to do is play guitar. And if I'm in school, it's going to stop me from doing what I want to do. And so I made the decision not to go to school. And so then what I used to do is just go in the morning, sign the register, go back home, play guitar, go back to school, sign the register, and the teachers never even noticed that I wasn't there. I actually have one of the school reports from a metalwork teacher, and said, "I'd like to mark his work, but I've never actually seen him." And so that became the pattern. And then after a few months, it became apparent that no one cared that I wasn't going. Yeah. And so all I did then was play guitar. And then I started putting bands together.
Excellent. And you first put together the first version of Jagged Edge. I mean, were you 17 when you went out on tour with Vowau, the Japanese band?
Yeah, I mean, there was
17.
Like I said before, it's just it became everything that consumed me in the day. So I'd be like this 15-year-old trying to put a band together, and a 16-year-old trying to put a band together, working with all these various people, and then gradually people stuck around for a little while, and then all of a sudden I got picked up by John Henry, who he probably still runs a massive rehearsal studio in North London, where it's all the bands used to rehearse. Gary Moore used to be in there. I could tell you stories just about those days at John Henry's. I remember when Guns N' Roses did their first ever shows in London, 3 shows at the Marquee, and they were rehearsing at John Henry's before they did these shows. And I have a very clear memory. The way it was done, it was like there was a courtyard, and I remember coming out of this door once and seeing, there was actually 4 of them. I can't remember who was missing, but these 4 guys walking towards the door, and they just looked really serious. It was kind of like, wow, who are these guys? I've never seen guys that look like this before. And obviously they then turned into like the biggest band in the world. But you'd often find the drummer just passed out in a hallway somewhere. You know, you'd be walking around the building, and there he would be curled up in a corner, and he'd be like, "Who's that?" "Oh, he's the drummer of such and such band." Gary Moore brought me into a rehearsal studio once. It's because I knew Gary Moore was in there. I used to stand outside the door listening.
One of your heroes.
Yeah, one of my heroes, the Black Rose album. And so I'm listening to the band rehearse, and all of a sudden I feel a tap on my shoulder. And I don't know if you've ever met Gary Moore, but he's a very intimidating human being. Like scars down his face, and when he looks into you, he looks like...
The second concert I ever went to was Gary Moore.
Yeah, he's a tough guy. And I turned around, and it was him tapping me on the shoulder because I was blocking him from getting into his own rehearsal room. Right. And he just went, "You want to come in and watch?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so he opened the door, and he just like pointed as if to say, "Sit there, be quiet, don't do anything," and then watched him play for like the next 2.5 hours, for me just sitting there, of him with his red Strat. Wow. And just some of the most ferocious guitar playing I've ever heard or seen in my life. And this was just in a rehearsal room. He had Bob Daisley on bass, he had Eric Singer on drums, and he had Neil Carter on keyboards. So it was a devastating band. And I think I was about 16 at the time. But my point is that then I got John Henry as a manager, and then I had another guy called Joe Brown who was my manager, and he owned a company called Tasco. And then he brought Rod Smallwood in as a partner to manage me. And that's when Rod became my full-time manager, after I did a show with UFO. I think I may have deviated from your original question, but...
Well, yeah, I mean, going on to that then, you joined UFO for a short period. Was that through Rod Smallwood then that he recommended you?
No, that actually came... I think that may have actually came from Joe Brown. That's right. Joe Brown was the manager or the owner of Tasco. And Tasco historically had done all of the shows for UFO in their big sort of period.
Yeah.
And word got round that UFO were looking for a new guitar player. And at the time, I was the new kid on the scene.
Yep.
And so they said, well, you should use Myke. And so I went out and I knew all of the Michael Schenker stuff, but I didn't really know the stuff after Schenker. So I had 5 days of rehearsal maybe 4 days of rehearsal with UFO. And then we did a show at the Astoria at the Metal Hammer Christmas show.
Okay.
And that generated a lot of press and publicity for me. And then and I've always been the catalyst of the band that I'm in, because I don't actually like playing other people's songs. You know, for me, like a big part of playing music is to play the songs that I've written. You know, that experience taught me that I love playing music, but ultimately I only want to play music that I've had a hand in writing.
Yeah.
So that's why I've never joined anyone else's band over the years, because I've never really liked to be told what to do.
Did you do any writing with Mr. Mogg?
Yeah, we did. So we did the show, and in that lineup was Jim Simpson on drums, the wonderful Paul Gray, who's a really, really lovely man, great bass player, and there was a keyboard player as well, whose name escapes me, but I think his name was Eddie George, but I may be wrong. So we did that show, but then Phil wanted to get back together with Pete Way. So then I started working with Phil and Pete, trying to write some songs, and it just wasn't a dynamic that worked for me. You know, I think I was 17 or 18 years of age, didn't drink, didn't take drugs.
You were trying to write songs with Pete Way.
Yeah, you were, and it was just a cultural age thing. You know, these guys were like, 25 years older than me. They'd had all this experience under the belt, and I was like, Phil always used to call me new pin, because he said I was like a shiny new pin. Because it was all exciting to me, and I used to wake up in the morning, let's play guitar, and that wasn't their dynamic at all. So I just realised this isn't for me. And that's when I started to put together different lineups of Jagged Edge, and then we finally got a lineup that was good enough, and that was why Rod was managing me, and we went on tour with Ozzy Osbourne on the No Rest for the Wicked tour. So that was, even though I'd done other tours like the one you spoke of with Val Wow, the first big tour I did was in Jagged Edge. We had Rob Armitage on vocals, who used to sing in a band called Baby Taku. A couple of other guys, and that was an eye-opening experience, because all of a sudden you were playing in the Premiership. And there was a catalyst moment, I'll never forget it. There's many moments in my life which I always go like, that was it, that was a moment.
A sliding doors moment.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so we got together as a band, and we'd written these songs, and we had demos, and there was record company interest. And the first shows with Ozzy Osbourne was in Ireland. So we flew out to Ireland, and it was almost like something from a movie. I remember arriving to the venue, walking into the venue, and literally, bam, bam, and they went into Bark at the Moon. And the lineup was Geezer Butler on bass, Zakk Wylde on guitar, Randy Castillo on drums, and I can't remember who the keyboard player was, but I think he used to be in Uriah Heep. But it was another level. Yeah. All of a sudden, the power and the ferocity of these musicians. And in my head, it was like, we ain't good enough. What I'm in now is not good enough. And I knew that right from that very second. And so we put that band, we did the tour, and it was a great learning success. But as soon as it finished, I knew I had to change lineups.
But personally, did you take that in your stride? Even though you said they're on another level, did you take that into your stride and move up to that next level? Well,
I just always, I would never be someone to say that I've moved up to Zakk Wylde's level, but not for the lack of trying. I knew instantly that the band that I was in was not good enough for what I wanted to achieve. So we did the tour, but all the time I knew this wasn't right. And we didn't get signed, as a result of it, and I wasn't surprised. But me and Rod and I, whatever the correct English is, Smallwood, we said it's close, but it's not close enough. And so that's when Matty Alfonsetti came on board with Jagged Edge.
Yeah.
The word got out that we were looking for a new singer, and everyone kind of knew that I was kind of like putting this new band together. And Polydor Records were looking at Matty as an individual, and they said, well, if you work with him, we will give you a record deal. And they did. And then we were signed to Polydor, but we had never met each other. We hadn't done that thing that bands do, which is you form a band, you go around and you do clubs, you gel, you get your thing. It was like, here's two individual, here's a record deal, now make a record.
Okay, never realised that.
Yeah, that's what happened, and it didn't work, you know. I mean, to a degree it worked, but it didn't cross over into sales. You know, we released songs that stood the test of time, but we didn't gel as a band, as individuals. And it became very clear halfway through that process that the dynamic between the two writers wasn't going to last, and it didn't. And so Rod was just like, don't worry, we'll just start again, which is one of the things about having a manager like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like whatever the obstacle is, he would have either found a way to go around it, under it, over it, or just smash through it. You know, so one of the things that I'm very proud of is that I had Rod Smallwood as a manager, and to have the best manager in the world teach you about the music industry is something that not many people will get.
No, exactly.
So indebted to both him and Andy Taylor, who are a partnership. You know, without them, I wouldn't have gone on tour with Bruce Dickinson. I wouldn't have played on Bruce Dickinson's albums.
Yep.
You know, wouldn't have done all the things that we did. And Jagged Edge was the stepping stone to Skin. Prior to Jagged Edge, I'd actually asked Neville MacDonald to join Jagged Edge.
Okay.
But he turned it down because he wanted to stick with Cougar.
Yeah.
I knew Cougar would ultimately collapse, and so it was just a waiting time. And so, ironically, Jagged Edge collapsed just as Cougar was running out of steam. And so I said, well, now? And he went, yeah, okay, let's let it go. And same thing happened. So what happened out of that, when Jagged Edge finished, we managed to get a bunch of money out of Polydor to basically, because they didn't take up the second option, and so they gave us some money as like saying a goodbye,
yeah.
Thank you. And out of that money, I had just enough money to put a new lineup together, record some demos, and finance a little tour, which was 10 shows.
And this was still Jagged Edge?
At that time, we were called Phoenix, I think.
All right.
Phoenix or Taste or something like that. And on the 10th show, which was a show in London, we got signed to Parlophone. And it was the final money. It was the final thing. And then from that, everything that happened with Skin came out of that.
Excuse me if I've got the timeline wrong, but was it between Jagged Edge and Skin that you worked with Bruce Dickinson? Or
It was
like a crossover.
There was when Bruce did. I'd formed Skin, and we were in the process of doing demos and doing all that sort of stuff. And Bruce was doing a song for Comic Relief.
Yeah, Elected. Another Alice Cooper classic.
Yes, exactly. And so, because we'd known each other from Jagged Edge, because we toured with Bruce Dickinson, you know, we had the same manager. And Fabio, who was the drummer of Jagged Edge, played on Bruce's solo album. Yeah. So there was a lot of crossover of people. Dickie Fleezer was Bruce Dickinson's drummer in the live band, and he became the drummer of Skin. So it was all very interconnected, and so the writing with Bruce happened in that period of time. I went out to record Bruce's solo album, his second solo album. He did it once with Keith Olsen, which I played on. Then he did another one with someone else, Chris Tangarides, I think.
Yeah.
And then he did it a third time, and I only played on the first one. So it was all around that sort of time. But I worked with him directly before recording the first album of Skin.
Is that how you got Keith Olsen to produce the first Skin album?
Well, it was almost like I knew that he was doing Bruce's album, and so Rod said, "Well, would you like to do Skin as well?" And he was like, "Who's Skin?" And so he heard Look But Don't Touch and House of Love, and he goes, "Yeah, I would like to do this."
Cool.
And so literally as soon as he finished with Bruce Dickinson, then Skin came in and recorded the first album. So I was out in Los Angeles for a good period of time, which was very wonderful.
How many albums was it with Skin? Was it 4 or 5, 4 and a live album?
Well, I mean, if you include the ones that we did when we came back, there was the first one, then there was Lucky, then there was Experience Electric, then there was Hasta La Vista, then there was Breaking the Silence, and then there was Up Close and Personal. So, 6, I guess, yeah.
And how do you look back at the writing experience you had with Skin? Is it with fondness?
I mean, when I started playing guitar, it was all about guitar solos. It was the guitar heroes I was interested in, like the Eddie Van Halens, the Michael Schenkers, the Randy Rhoads. And so I was very much obsessed about the construction of guitar playing. And then it dawned on me that if you're going to be successful, you're going to have to write things that people can sing, because that's generally what everyone wants to do. They want to come and sing and clap and dance, and it wasn't about the guitar solo. So then the art form of songwriting became something new to me that wasn't a catalyst at the beginning. So then it became about how can I write great songs, or songs that will be rememberable. So I think around the time of Jagged Edge, then it became that the songwriting became more important than the guitar playing. And so the fact that people still want to hear songs that I wrote 25 years ago, 30 years ago, for me is what it's all about. So I'm very proud of them, and you always sort of think what's going to be left behind. I'm all endlessly looking at music from, I'm still discovering music now which has been created 30 years ago, which I was unaware of. So all of a sudden new artists come to me and it's like, wow, how is it that I've never heard of this? So now is to leave behind a legacy of work, that people will sort of go, well, this is his work, and it's actually more important than my life, sort of thing. Is my life's purpose, I guess, to try and create these songs that hopefully people will listen to in the same way. Like I discovered Stevie Ray Vaughan after he died. Right. I had no idea who he was. It's like, my God, I never saw this man play. One of the most amazing guitar players ever. Absolutely. And to me, it's like, oh my God, I never saw him play. So it's to be part of that. That's kind of what it's all about for me. So just getting it out there for people to discover, that's a big part of my life. Well, it's one of the reasons why I wanted you to be in episode 1 of the podcast. You've got a story to tell. You've got a back catalogue that I think is amazing. Thank you. So a lot of the songs that you've written, how can I put it? Music to me, if it makes you feel good, I'd rather listen to a song that makes me feel good than makes me feel sad. I don't want to listen to a song that makes me feel sad because I don't want to feel sad. And your songs make me feel good. I think my songs make some people feel sad. Not me personally, obviously. Like, for example, Kim's new single, Let Me Be The One. Mm-hmm. As soon as I heard that, I felt good. Oh, that makes me happy. Even heard your reworked version of Love Like Suicide made me feel better than when I first heard the Skin version of Love Like Suicide. And not many songs do that now. Well, that makes me happy to hear that. Yeah. I mean, when I heard Kim's voice, I instantly heard all of these songs that... it's like, oh, she needs to sing a song like this, or she needs it would be good if she sang something like that. So that ignited something in my head as soon as I heard her voice. It's like, oh, I could write this for her, and she can do this and she can do that. So that's what we're kind of in the process of doing now, is constructing these songs for her. Well, hopefully, I mean, in this day and age, to me, pop music these days, or commercial music these days, it's totally changed from many, many years ago. For example, I think the last rock song that got to number 1 was My Chemical Romance, was Welcome to the Black Parade. Wow. That was
I can't remember what year it
Wow,
was.
that's a long time ago. Yeah.
Early 2000s. It's a long time ago. You won't get a rock song getting in, even in the charts.
Yeah, I mean,
these
like
days.
Final Countdown, that got to number one.
That
You're
got
right.
to number one.
It's never really triggered with me before, but you're absolutely right.
So, somebody of Kim's talent these days, for her to be successful, how would you deem success for Kim now, and for you as a songwriter of Kim's?
I mean, my work with Kim is very much about presenting her to the world. You know, I'm fully aware that she's going to spread her wings and fly and go and do all the things that she's destined to do.
That's what I'm saying. That she's got that talent, but we just hope that she will.
Well, I mean, it's
spread her wings
really
and-
going to be dependent upon the team. That no one works within the music industry generally unless they're going to make some kind of financial return from it. To get the good people on board, the Rod Smallwoods, the Adam Parsons, the Peter Menches, the artist has to do a certain amount of work themselves, because from crap to good is here, good to great is much, much harder. There's lots of people, lots of guys playing the Premiership, but there's only a few Messis, there's only a few Ronaldos, there's only a few Ibrahimoviches, and so you're talking about going up against, when you talk about the great rock singers, we could stand here for about 10 minutes, and within those 10 minutes we would have named them all. They're a very rare breed. The David Coverdales, the Ian Gillans, the Ronnie James Dios, the Lizzie Howes. After 10 minutes we would have been exhausted. To get to that level then takes prolonged discipline, the relentless work ethic of album tour, the skin thick enough to take all of the rejection, all of the trouble within personal relationships, the dynamic within bands of going on tour, tired, just all of the crap that goes with it. And to get from good to great means a lot of endurance and perseverance, and not many people have got it. It's nothing that I can make someone do. They either have it in them. Neville MacDonald is one of the great singers on the planet, but he's not headlining stadiums. It's got nothing to do with his talent. And I could make a whole list of people, and sometimes that's down to bad decision making. Just the desire to play music isn't as strong as to hang out with your family. So there's continual sacrifices, and only a few people. Some people can be famous for a while, but to sustain success for decades, you have to maintain those standards, that discipline, that just relentless drive to succeed. And it's hard. It's really, really tough. Some of the greatest musicians in the world haven't made it as a result of it. Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse. I could reel them off.
Yeah, well, we had one this week, Keith Flint. Very talented guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Couldn't handle it.
So it's a tough business to first succeed in, even harder to survive, so that goes beyond someone's singing ability. It goes beyond someone's playing ability or writing ability. There's other factors, inner mental strength that's going to get you through it. I remember going on tour with the Choir Boys a few years ago with Red, White and Blues. Some venues had a lot of people in, and some people's were empty. Go on 8 years later, they're selling out again, and because they have that drive and determination to get through it. You can't teach that. You can't give it. You can't fast track it. That has to be earned.
I also think integrity has a lot to do with older musicians. Like, say, Choir Boys have never veered away from how they started. They started off as a honky-tonk rock and roll band. They're still a honky-tonk rock and roll band.
And total respect for it,
Yeah,
very much so.
Yeah, but like yourself as well, the stuff you're writing now is different to the songs that you wrote with Jagged Edge, but you haven't veered away that much.
Yeah, but I did. To be honest with you, I did, because at the end of Skin, I actually became a gun for hire. I would walk into studios and just play anything, Roger Sanchez. I could give you a list of artists and records that I've played on that you would go like, really? You played on that? I go, yeah. It's shit. But I played on it, and they paid me a few £100 to do it, and I needed money to eat at that particular time. So for 2, 3, years, that's what I would do. Just wander around different studios. What do you mean to play? And that was it. One of the songs I wrote, made me like £250,000, but it's a piece of shit. I think I wrote it in 5 minutes. I think it was a test for the studio just to see if all the equipment was working. Right. But it turned out to be in the charts for 64 weeks in Austria and Germany and Switzerland and places like that. But it's crap. I'll be the first person to tell you it's crap. But I did deviate from the path because I needed to eat.
But that was a necessity. Like I say, you still have your integrity, though.
Yeah. I mean, different people will give you different answers, but I try it. I've tried to redeem myself since I came back. Yeah, absolutely. Away from music, you're an animal lover. You're a vegan. You've been vegan for 5 years now, something like that. Yeah. You obviously keep yourself very, very fit. Well, it depends what I'm doing, but thank you.
I remember seeing going back to your Facebook page, you went to see Def Leppard. Yeah. And you mentioned a bit of Phil Collen, who's a 62-year-old, is he now? 62-year-old vegan, looking unbelievably good. Yeah, I mean, the thing about Phil Collen is like when I was around the same time that I played with Bernie Tormey, I think I was about 12, 13. Girl, which was the band that Phil played in, they played at this club. And Phil was one of the people that would teach me stuff at sound checks. Right. And so on that particular day, he invited me into the dressing room, and he had his black Ibanez Destroyer was there, and he showed me how to play All Night Long by Rainbow. Yeah. And he taught me how to play chords, not like a bar chord. That you could make this little inversion, which was kind of like the foundation of all like the Richie Blackmore riffs. And he goes, there's a much easier way of doing that. And he showed me how to do that. He invited me onto the stage, and I got to play I was tiny, his black Ibanez through his Marshalls with his drummer. And so to me, this was another amazing moment. And I had loads of them. I had Dave Hill from Slade did the same thing. And, about 5 or 6 different guitar players helped me that way. And then years later, I was playing bass in a band called Must, and we were supporting Def Leppard, and we went all around Britain. So I got to meet Phil again. I said, I actually met you when I was 12, 13. And I sort of thanked him, and I was a little bit feeling like a little kid again. I've met lots of rock stars, but when Phil was like a hero to me at 12, 13. I used to learn all the girl songs and everything. And he's a vegan. And he looks incredible. He does martial arts. I could do martial arts as well. So we had a lot in common. But health, fitness, a big part of my life. I nearly killed myself with cocaine. There was a period of time where I was consuming massive amounts of cocaine when I was working with Courtney Love, and it was it was a very dark time, and I turned into someone very, very different. Yeah. I was playing music I didn't like, and cocaine was turning me into a horrible person. And so I stopped all of it and just threw myself into health and fitness. So I went back into training martial arts. I was doing it all day, and then that got me into nutrition. And I'm a nutritionist for a living, and so it then became about how can I make myself as healthy as possible, and that's where all the dietary changes sort of happened. Excellent. And obviously your day job funds your music.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Funds all of it. So my job is, I do lots of things, but nutritionist is one of them. Personal training is another. Martial instructor is another. I go into companies and help them with all, their injuries and performance and stuff like that. And, that money funds everything else.
And are you finding the balance is working at the moment, the work-music balance?
I mean, I would never say that I'm a balanced human being, and the thing that always suffers is my personal relationships, right? Because music is everything, and if I do anything, it's all or nothing. So I'm as relentless in my work as I am with music, and so for me, life is juggling those two plates. So I generally get up in the morning, I do all my guitar practice, and then I'll do my training, and then I'll go to work, and then I come back home at night, and then I start on the songs. And it's that cycle. So I don't go out. I don't have a social life or anything like that. It's very much That's my world.
Yeah, I mean, you get this perception of rock stars that they're out every night, living out on the town every night and having just an absolutely wild time. Mm-hmm. And it's just not like that these days, is it? It probably used to be.
I couldn't even tell you the last time I've ever gone out into a social environment. My whole life is geared around those things that I just talked about. It's either training, practicing, trying to get better, writing, recording. That's it. I don't really have any time in my life for anything other than that.
Yeah, I think it was around July last year. I was talking to Luke from the Struts, Luke Spiller, and the amazing band. But they're now huge in America. Not huge in America, but they're getting a massive name in America. They are also over here.
Yeah.
Because they're a great band. One thing that he said, and it struck a chord with me, and he just said, "I lead a very boring life."
Yeah.
I thought, how do you lead a very boring life? And he said, I just don't go out. I don't do anything.
Yeah, there's not really. I mean, during the days of Skin, where you're out on tour, you know, there's a whole load of You know, obviously there's girls everywhere, which is all fantastic and everything. But as the work that is required, it just doesn't really leave much time for anything else. And most people would find it very hard to compete with the level of attention that I give the other things. You know, that's always what's been the trouble. It was the reason my marriage broke down. It's just like, you know, I've been doing this since I was 10. It's all I want to do, you know, and it's kind of... you know, it's tough for people in relationships with musicians, you know, because they're fighting against their passion.
Yeah, the lucky ones stay together. Very, very lucky ones.
Yeah, very lucky.
You have to be lucky.
Yeah.
So I think we better leave it there because this room is absolutely freezing.
It is.
I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm sat here shivering away.
It is. I'm actually thinking about how, because my hands get cold very quickly, I've got to keep them constantly warm.
Yeah,
but I gave you everything that you wanted.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like I hold my hands out.